Canada is in crisis. Fentanyl is flooding our streets, claiming tens of thousands of lives, while our borders remain wide open to drug traffickers and criminal networks. And who's to blame? According to Pierre Poilievre, it's none other than Justin Trudeau and his Liberal government. Poilievre isn't holding back. He's calling this a national betrayal, accusing Trudeau of enabling mass murder through reckless policies and weak leadership. But that's not all. As Donald Trump threatens tariffs over Canada's role in the fentanyl trade, Poilievre is sounding the alarm, warning that Trudeau's failures are now putting our economy and international reputation on the line. And his solution? A bold, no-holds-barred plan to take back control of our borders, lock up drug kingpins for life, and restore Canada's sovereignty. Stay tuned, because in this video, we're breaking down Poilievre's explosive accusations, his controversial proposals, and the shocking truths about how Trudeau's government has let this crisis spiral out of control. And trust me, you won't want to miss the moment Poilievre takes aim at the Liberals' borderless globalist ideology and lays out his vision for a stronger, safer Canada. This is a fight for the soul of the nation, and it's just getting started. Poilievre's speech? The fentanyl crisis has reached catastrophic levels in Canada, with over 50,000 lives lost in just 9 years. That's not just a statistic, it's a national tragedy. Pierre Poilievre wasted no time in calling out the Trudeau government, accusing them of standing idly by as this poison floods our streets. He didn't mince words, painting a grim picture of the crisis, likening it to the disappearance of an entire city.
1,000 people suddenly died. That is the size and scope of the fentanyl overdose crisis in the last 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals. A small, beautiful city.
But Poilievre didn't stop there. He laid the blame squarely at the feet of the Liberal government, accusing them of enabling this crisis through their reckless policies. He pointed to Bill C-5, which eliminated mandatory prison sentences for drug traffickers, and the shocking fact that 99% of shipping containers entering Canada go unchecked. According to Poilievre, this isn't just negligence.
It wasn't like this before Liberals radically liberalized drugs. We know what they did. They passed C-5 to allow traffickers to serve their sentences in their living rooms. They eliminated mandatory prison time. They opened up our ports and our border.
It's a betrayal of the Canadian people. And the consequences? Devastating. Poilievre described a scene straight out of a nightmare. Super labs in British Columbia producing enough fentanyl to kill millions, precursor chemicals flowing in from China and Mexico, and transnational criminal networks operating with impunity. This isn't just a crisis, it's a war, and Poilievre made it clear that Canada is losing.
In November of 2024, police dismantled what they described as the largest, most sophisticated illicit drug super lab in the country in Falkland, British Columbia. One of the accused was out of jail after earlier convictions. Police said they seized 54 kilograms of fentanyl. Now, that might not seem like a lot until you realize that it just takes 2 milligrams to kill a human being. That means there was enough finished fentanyl to kill 27 million people. Police found enough ingredients to make enough fentanyl to kill 95 million people.
But here's the real kicker. Poilievre didn't just call this a drug crisis. He called it what it truly is: mass murder. And he's not wrong. Fentanyl isn't just taking lives. It's destroying families, communities, and the very fabric of our nation. Yet according to Poilievre, the Liberals have done nothing but enable the criminals responsible for this carnage.
Let's call fentanyl trafficking what it is: mass murder. Selling 40 milligrams of this poison is enough to kill 20 people. It's like spraying bullets into a crowd. You might not know who you're killing, but it's certain someone will die.
Poilievre's plan is as bold as it is controversial. He's calling for mandatory life sentences for fentanyl kingpins, a move that will undoubtedly spark debate. But he didn't stop there. He also proposed increasing border security, deploying high-tech scanners to inspect shipping containers, and cracking down on the flow of precursor chemicals from countries like China and Mexico. According to Poilievre, This isn't just about saving lives, it's about reclaiming Canada's sovereignty.
President Trump has threatened to tariff Canada because of what he says is lethal drug flows. But whether or not we agree with him should not matter. It should not take a foreign leader to get the Liberals to wake up to the drug crisis that they have caused here at home.
And while Poilievre's critics may accuse him of being too harsh, he made it clear that his plan isn't just about punishment, it's about hope. He pledged to provide life-saving treatment and recovery programs for those struggling with addiction, offering a lifeline to Canadians who have been abandoned by the current government.
We will come to the rescue of victims and addicts. We will provide life-saving treatment. My message to anyone struggling with addiction today is have hope, hang on, help is on the way. My government will provide residential treatment. They will take people off the streets, provide them with detox, recovery, counseling, group therapy, sweat lodges for First Nations victims, and help them get into housing, a job, and back to their families. We will bring our loved ones home drug-free.
But let's not sugarcoat it. This is a damning indictment of Trudeau's leadership. Poilievre accused the Liberals of prioritizing ideology over action, of turning Canada into a post-national state where borders are meaningless, and of allowing criminal networks to thrive while ordinary Canadians suffer. He didn't just criticize the government, he called for a complete overhaul of the system.
My law will go after the fentanyl kingpins who kill thousands of people each year. We will treat them like the mass murderers they are.
This isn't just a policy debate, it's a battle for the soul of Canada. Poilievre's message is clear. The time for half measures and excuses is over. It's time to put Canada first, to protect our borders, and to take back control from the criminals and the politicians who have failed us. The question is, will Canadians rally behind his vision, or will they continue to pay the price for Liberal inaction? Quick pause. If you're enjoying this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Did you know over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing? Subscribing is free and it helps us create more content you love. So go ahead and hit that button. It only takes a second. Thanks so much, and now back to the video. Trudeau's failures and Poilievre's solution? While Pierre Poilievre laid out a bold plan to tackle the fentanyl crisis, he didn't stop at addressing the drug kingpins. He turned his attention to the root causes of the problem: Canada's broken borders and the Liberal government's failure to secure them. According to Poilievre, the Trudeau government has allowed Canada to become a playground for transnational criminal networks, with drugs, guns, and stolen goods flowing freely across the border.
Trudeau and Mark Carney and the Liberals have destroyed our border security and our ports. After 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, our ports are allowing 99% of shipping containers to enter our country with no inspection. And that's where the drug ingredients, the guns, the stolen cars come into our country or leave to support massive crime networks. I announced that I will.
Poilievre didn't hold back, accusing the Liberals of dismantling Canada's border security and leaving the country vulnerable to exploitation. He proposed a radical overhaul, eliminating 2,000 bureaucratic positions and replacing them with 2,000 new CBSA agents equipped with cutting-edge technology to inspect shipping containers and secure the border.
Massive crime networks. I announced that I will eliminate 2,000 bureaucrats and replace them with 2,000 extra CBSA agents who will have the power to surveil our entire border. They will also have the ability to use new high-tech scanners that can peer right through the metal walls of shipping containers to spot drugs, guns, and stolen.
But Poilievre didn't stop at bureaucratic reform. He called for a complete militarization of Canada's borders, deploying surveillance towers, drones, and even the military to block fentanyl traffickers and other criminals. This isn't just a policy proposal, it's a declaration of war on the criminal networks that have taken root in Canada.
Border. with surveillance towers, drones, helicopters. I've said the military should immediately go to the borders to block fentanyl traffickers and other lawbreakers. The radical Trudeau-Carney experiment with open borders and post-national globalism has not only divided and weakened our country's sense of identity, it has endangered our people. When I'm Prime Minister, that radical, borderless, globalist ideology pushed by the Trudeau-Carney Liberals will end, and we will have a Prime Minister that seals the border, protects our people, and puts Canada first.
En français.
Merci.
And while Poilievre's critics may call his approach extreme, he argued that it's the only way to protect Canadians and restore order. He accused the Liberals of pushing a borderless globalist ideology that has weakened Canada's sovereignty and left its citizens vulnerable. Poilievre's vision is clear: a Canada where borders are secure, criminals are punished, and citizens can feel safe in their own communities. But his message wasn't just about security, it was about reclaiming Canada's identity. He accused the Liberals of turning Canada into a post-national state where the government prioritizes ideology over the safety and well-being of its people. This isn't just a policy debate, it's a fight for the future of Canada. Poilievre's message is as controversial as it is compelling. Canada must take back control of its borders, its sovereignty, and its future. The question is, will Canadians embrace his vision, or will they continue to pay the price for the Liberals' failed experiment? Liberal inaction? Pierre Poilievre also talked about the failures of the Trudeau government. He made it clear that their incompetence is now threatening Canada's relationship with its closest ally, the United States. With Donald Trump threatening tariffs over what he called lethal drug flows from Canada, Poilievre argued that Trudeau's inaction has put the country's economy and reputation on the line.
The number of seizures of fentanyl at the Canada-US border more than tripled between 2023 and 2024, rising from 239,000 doses to 839 doses. How did this happen? Well, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals happened. They legalized fentanyl possession here in British Columbia in partnership with the local radical NDP BC government. They passed C5.
But Poilievre didn't just criticize Trudeau for his failure to act. He accused the Liberals of creating the conditions that led to this crisis. He pointed to their decision to legalize fentanyl possession in British Columbia and their partnership with the NDP government in the province, which he claimed has turned Canada into a source country for fentanyl trafficking. According to Poilievre, this isn't just a domestic issue. It's an international embarrassment. He cited a government report confirming that Canada is now a source and transit country for fentanyl, with the drug being trafficked to markets in the United States and Australia. This, he argued, is a direct result of the Liberals' soft-on-crime policies.
On a weekly basis. A Government of Canada report confirmed, and I quote, seizures of Canada-sourced fentanyl in places like the US and Australia suggest that the domestic production of fentanyl is likely exceeding the domestic demand and that Canada is now a source and transit country for fentanyl to some markets. The number...
Poilievre's criticism didn't stop at the Liberals' handling of the drug crisis. He accused them of failing to protect Canada's economic sovereignty, leaving the country vulnerable to foreign pressure. He argued that Trudeau's weakness has emboldened leaders like Trump to exploit Canada's vulnerabilities, putting Canadian jobs and industries at risk.
Dependent on the Americans. They've handed over our economic sovereignty to President Trump, who spots weakness. And now, what is a real estate mogul from the fiercest economic jungle in the world, New York City? What does he do when he spots weakness? He pounces. He pounces on the weakness that Carney-Trudeau Liberals have caused in this country. We cannot allow this.
But Poilievre didn't just highlight the problem, he offered a solution. He called for an immediate recall of Parliament to address the crisis and respond to Trump's tariff threats. According to Poilievre, the Liberals' failure to act decisively has left Canada in a precarious position and only a new government can restore the country's strength and sovereignty.
Argued that Parliament should be recalled to address the tariff threat facing Canada, which is related to the fentanyl crisis that you've spoken about earlier today. But however, you're also calling for an election. Of course, dissolving Parliament would be required to have an election. How can we have both of these views simultaneously? And given the urgency of
Poilievre's message was clear. Canada cannot afford to wait. The Liberals' failures have put the country's economy, security, and reputation at risk, and the time for action is now. His call to recall Parliament wasn't just a political move, it was a challenge to Canadians to demand better from their leaders. This isn't just about fentanyl or tariffs, it's about the future of Canada. Poilievre's vision is bold, controversial, and unapologetic. The question is, will Canadians rise to the challenge, or will they continue to pay the price for Liberal inaction? Pierre Poilievre has drawn a line in the sand. He's calling out the Trudeau government for its failures, from the fentanyl crisis to Canada's crumbling borders, and offering a bold vision to restore safety, sovereignty, and strength. The question now is simple. Will Canadians continue to endure the chaos and weakness of Liberal leadership, or will they rally behind Poilievre's call for action? The stakes couldn't be higher, and the choice couldn't be clearer. Let us know what you think in the comments below, because this fight for Canada's future is far from over.